Hi there. This is Meri from the.meri.atelier, and I am going to do another standalone stream, an unlisted stream, and I will review it, and then if I like it, I will allow it to go public. But this is still Tuesday, February 5th. I streamed early this morning. I streamed in the afternoon. I spent a little time with Tanya and Lisa at Jeri's Recycled Parts for Art, and then I got called away. So, but I'm still not done. I still have art that I want to do. Yes, I do. I have art that I want to do. So it is a little after 9 p.m. Central Time. No, it's after 10 p.m. Central Time. Where did time go? But I just want to do a few more things in my journal. I've been working in my journal today, and what I want to work on is I have back here, I should mark it so that I can get to it easy. I have a history page right here on this date. On this date, in February 5th, Tuesday, February 5th, I'm going to put that right here. Right here, maybe. Maybe in here might be better. Apollo 14 astronauts Alan Shepard and Edgar Mitchell stepped onto the surface of the moon in the first of 2 lunar excursions. Now, I do not think that he was the first person on the moon. I don't know that much about space, and I'm not pretending to. But this was the item in the history section of our daily paper that caught my eye. Yes, that I thought was relatively positive. Everything else was about World War II, I think. And I'm just going to put this in here. And what I like to do is do some type of art related to these items that I'm finding relating to the dates in February. So let me show you, like on February 1st. Now, I may not get it done every day, and I'm connecting this with my 29 Faces project, and I most likely will not get 29 faces drawn in February because I have so much going. But that doesn't mean that I won't want to try it and won't want to go out and do that. So the face that I'm going to sketch here is Alan Shepard, and of course he's older here. Here he is in his probably his 60s or 70s. I think he died at age 72. He died in his 70s. He was 71 or 72. So he may have been in his late 60s here. I don't know. This is him later in life. But I like this picture, and I'm going to sketch it. I like it because it has a lot of things that I'm working on. It has his eyes. Look, his eyes. He's got his eyeglasses. I'm working on eyeglasses, and he's got a very prominent nose and an open mouth smile. Look at that smile on him. Look at that smile. He just makes me smile. Look at that smile. Makes me giggle. And I hope he's up there in heaven giggling too. So I am going to sketch him as a part of my 29 faces. Now, I don't know if it's going to turn out looking like him. Let me pull these earbuds off because I don't need these. I don't know if it's going to end up looking like him or not. I might have to sketch him a couple times like I did Julia Ward Howe. But, well, that's how it goes. So I'm just going to put my journal away. Not away, but aside. Let's put my journal aside here. And I'm just going to concentrate. I'm going to work with pencils. Lately, I've been attracted to pencils, and these are Faber Castell water-soluble graphite pencils. Now, I've worked with graphite sticks before. I've had these for a couple years now. I don't use them much because, well, you know, graphite is graphite, but these are water-soluble. So I may use some of these in the background. I like to work with ink pen a lot, but I'm not going to work with ink pen until I can put my hands on some, that's got sizing in it. I'm not going to work with ink pen, water-soluble ink, until I can get my hands back on some vellum-coated paper. So I'll do that next month in March. So I am going to concentrate. Now, what I like to do, and I've talked about this when I was, let's zoom in so you can see what I'm going to be doing. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom in. Plus one more. That might be too much. Zoom out one there. What I'm going to be doing is studying his face. And I want to study his face as it is on this page. So Annie V emailed me. She was watching me sketch Julia Ward Howe. And I was hoping that she was watching the second one and not the first one. But whatever. But she emailed me. I know that Annie must be I know she's a very talented artist. She's very talented. But she emailed me because I was talking about the distance of the eyes between the nose area and the distance of each eye. And she said that it's a very common fact, well known, that the space between the two eyes are the same length as an eye. So in a sense, if you could put a third eye in here, there would be a third eye. Now, I never heard that before. I have never heard that before, but I know looking at this picture, and I noticed on the other one too, that there's a lot of space in here. I think there's more space in here than we as artists realize. You either want to put them way far apart or way close together. So, yeah. So, and his head is at an angle this way. So if this was 90 degrees, this might be a 110-degree angle this way. Or if you were coming from here and going that way, it might be a 90-degree angle. Or if you were coming here and going that way, it may be a 100-degree angle, 110, 80, whatever. If you want to get a protractor and measure it, that's okay. But look at that smile. Look at the grin on his face. Just look at that. So that elongates because he's smiling with an open mouth. That elongates his face. That elongates his head. His jaw is open. So and you can barely see his ears back here, but there's a lot of shadow. Let's go back here. Whoops. There's a lot of shadow here in the background. Of course, he's got a white shirt on and a tie. So it looks like there might be some sort of a, I don't know, something in the background here, wherever he was getting that picture taken. Whoops. Let's elongate it again. But he's got, look at where his eye is. Look where his eyeglasses fall. Look where his eyeglasses fall. I almost wish that I could zoom in while I'm talking about the picture. Let's zoom in a little. I am doing a standalone video, so, you know, this may take a while, but so be it. So be it, because you're going to listen to me sketch. So I was talking about the space between the eyes. We've established now that the width from this eye to this eye should be approximately the same as the width of one of the eyes. So if you could draw a third eye in there, you would have space for about the same width of an eye. So that's something to consider. And then he's got very bushy eyebrows up here, very bushy. He's smiling, so he's got some forehead wrinkles here. And you can see that same white area right above. It's very faint, but you can see that same white area above his eyebrow, which makes me think that there's kind of a ridge there for the brow. For the, you know, if he didn't have eyebrows, you could see that ridge there on the skull. He's got pretty high cheekbones. He's got this big, wide smile. Just a big, wide smile, like somebody who's walked on the moon. Somebody who's been to the moon and back. And then here's his forehead, a very prominent forehead and a very high hairline up here. So let's zoom out just a little here. So, but his eyeglasses are falling down on his nose. His head is tilted this way. He's laughing at something. I giggle just looking at it. I'll probably giggle all through this. So his head's tilted this way, but look, his eyeglasses are sitting on his cheekbones. His eyeglasses are sitting on his cheekbones. Look, I can cover up his eyes. See? And you can still see, well, my pencil's moving, but you can still see his eyeglasses. So he's magnifying his cheekbones. But that's because he's probably looking up. His head he needs to be looking down, and probably when he's reading, he's looking down through his eyeglasses, but he's looking up at maybe who's ever taking the picture or whatever he's laughing at. So it's a very fun, it's a very fun portrait to do. And by the way, I got this picture off of Wiki Commons, and I'll put a link to the site out there and the common domain license out there. So this is in the public domain. This isn't anything that I try to sketch pictures that are in the common domain, and relatively famous people are. So, okay, and I am going to work with these pencils. Now, this is a number 2 pencil. Let's go to these and let's look at these. This is the 2B. This is can't even read it. I think that's the 4B. I can't read it. I cannot read it. It's written in gold. Let's see if I put it down this way. That's the 8B. This is the 8B. This, I can't read them because the light's shining on them. I have to put them down here. I think this is an HB. That's the HB. So this is a hard lead. This is a 2B, which is fairly soft. This is real soft. This one is the 6B or 4B. This is the 4B, and this much must be the 6B here. So I'm going to put 8, 6, 4, 2, and HB, which is really hard. And this is my number 2 lead pencil. I think I'm going to start out with this number 2 lead pencil and just get the shape of the head. Now, here again, I do not, in my sketching, I do not start out by drawing an oval. My preference is not to do that, because I think when you do that, you get a very stylized face unless you're highly talented. If you're highly talented and do that, and then you can go in and, erase your lines and all of that. But most beginners, I think when they start out drawing the oval and drawing that crosshair in it, I think they end up with a very stylized picture. I would rather have mine be not stylized and be all off than be stylized and still be all off. So I'm going to zoom back out one so you can see what I'm doing. There. And I kind of like to, okay, let's zoom out here. So this is as small as this picture goes. Let's get so his head, I know, and this is another thing I talk about. Sometimes I like to take, this is the brush that came with these Faber Castells. I like to just kind of imagine where this head is going to go. I probably don't want it that big. I probably want it, because see, there's space in here and space in here. So I probably want to leave some room there, if I can remember, and bring his head down this way. He's got, you can see his neck, but you don't see his long neck because he's obviously kind of looking, his head is kind of tilted down, but he's looking up. And that's why his eyeglasses have slid down his nose. But I still want to get his shoulder area in there. So I'm going to start with his head kind of being right in there. Right in here will be, and even down lower will be his eyeglasses. So let's start out with the 2B, and I'm just going to talk myself through this. You can watch and listen. I'm not going to fast forward. I'm not into that right now while I'm doing these unlisted streams. I'm just, and you probably won't, yeah, I guess you can kind of see where I'm trying to just very lightly. I'm not pressing hard on this pencil. And in fact, I'm kind of using the side of the lead here. I'm just sort of putting it in this way. Now, there is an advantage in that when you draw with a pencil, you can go in and erase. Whereas when you draw it with ink, and I am a very big proponent of drawing with ink, you cannot go in and erase with ink. So you have to think. I heard Dee Dee say that, Monday? When you draw with ink, you think more about it. And I do agree with that. You have to think where that ink line's going to go, because you'll have a hard time erasing it, especially on, this is just a cardstock. And your paper, if you get it wet, can peel on you. Or if you're trying to erase it, you can erase a hole in it. However, I do like to draw with pencil because I think that there's a time to draw with pencil. I don't want to say if you're drawing enough that you can start drawing with pencil, but I do think that you can talk. Maybe I'm more at, if you talk your way through this, you can draw with, but I find myself still going in there. I find myself thinking about what I'm doing is not Mary's problem. Mary's problem is that she kind of dismisses spontaneity and not thinking about what I'm doing. But you do want to think, and I think this is the point that Dee Dee was making. When you draw with ink, it forces you to think about where your pen is going a lot more than if you're drawing with pencil, because if you're drawing with pencil, you can very easily go in here and erase, which is okay. I mean, the point of it all is, really, honestly, the point of it is, if you've gotten this far, and if you've chosen a picture, and if you started to sketch it even this little bit, you're all ready. And if you look at this, if you've done what I've done about saying his head is tilted this way, his eyes are equal distance, and he's got big, heavy eyebrows, he's got some forehead wrinkles, he's got this big grin on his face, which elongates the head, you've already done a lot of thinking. You've already done a lot of thinking. So now what you need to do is everything that you have thought, whether you verbalized it or not. I like to verbalize, especially when I'm alone. You've already done a lot of thinking of your thinking. Now you need to get your hand to coordinate with your thoughts. And I don't always do that. That first picture I did of Julia Ward Howe was not a good picture. Even as I did it, I finished, I said, she looks too masculine. Now, as I'm sketching this, my first thought is his forehead is not high enough. My first thought is, and I am going to kind of erase this, because he's got a very high forehead here. So I want to make sure that I'm getting that. In fact, if you could, let me zoom in here. If you could look at his forehead here, he's got a very definite shadow here. And I'll bet if you could look at his skull, there's some reason that skin is forming that shadow right in here. There's sort of a line, and it curves. So that's kind of the curvature of his skull, I would think. Now, I'll bet you if I could look at his skull, you would see his skull kind of going around and kind of dipping in, maybe. I don't know. I would love to see it. I'm going to ask him to zoom in so I can look at his skull. So, but I want his forehead to be fairly high, and it's going to come up. It's going to come up here, and I think I'll elongate it up at the top. Here, it's going to come up a little more. Just a little bit more. But I do think I'll leave my eyebrows about where they were, but I'm just kind of elongating his forehead just a little. Now that's all that talking. And look at the light lines that I've put in there, very light. And maybe I'll just even kind of shade this in just a little, shade his hair in just a little so you can see just a little. And I'm here again, I'm not using the point of my pencil to draw like this. I'm using the flat edge of my pencil. And I'm just kind of setting down some graphite. This is a number 2 pencil. I'm blocking it in. You could probably think of this as, if I were painting, I would be doing an underpainting. So I'm doing an undersketch here. So here's his eyebrow. And let's see, his forehead comes here, and he's got those marks. He's got very prominent, very, very prominent marks on his creases on his, let's look at his forehead. Look at that. See, he's got very prominent creases there on his forehead. And that kind of gets shaded in. You kind of want to shade that. And I do not do enough shading on my faces. I'm kind of a scaredy cat to do that. And I need to work on that. That's another thing I need to work on, because I feel like I'm darkening their faces too much, when in the end, I don't darken them enough. Now his eyebrow, if you look at his eyebrow and his ear here, look, there's enough room for the side part of his eyeglass there, the little ear part there. There's a name for it. It just can't think of it right now. So I'm going to sketch that. I'm kind of laughing at myself. Sometimes I know, but I don't know. I can't get it on the tip of my tongue when I want it. I guess that's a function of old age. So be it. So his eyebrow itself comes kind of down to the corner of his eye, and the eyeglasses fall way down. So but the corner of his eye kind of starts over in here. And, you know, I even need that lower, because here's this big old bushy eyebrow right in here. And he's got a big bushy eyebrow, but it's kind of coming into the corner there. And I'm just going to kind of shade it. And let's move it over just a little. It's a fairly long eyebrow. And then it gets thinner here, and then it thins out over the ridge of his nose. Now, where does this end in relation to his hairline up here? Look, here's the ridge of his nose. Here's the hairline. So the ridge of his nose falls right before that point of his hairline. So I'm going to make the ridge of his nose right in there, and kind of, I may have it just maybe a little right in there. I'm close enough, I think. And then you have more, because he's aging. He's got some more creases. As a person ages, their faces become very interesting. Their faces, the creases on your face, the wrinkles, they're very interesting to draw. They're very detailed. And he's got another kind of a crease here, but I don't want to get it too thick, because he's got the end of his eye comes right here, but then he's got this wide portion of his nose. But this part of the eyebrow, well, let's see. Well, maybe I need to go in with my pencil here. Now, I need to do this eye. It comes down this way. And I might need to even go back here. Maybe not. Maybe I'm getting it. And it comes in like that. And in like that. Now, are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? I think you are. I'll have to darken it, but I'm just kind of lightly putting it in now. Now, I am drawing in pencil, but that doesn't mean I'm not thinking about it, because I'm verbalizing as I am sketching. And I think if I verbalize and observe as I'm sketching, I'm thinking. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we just go at it. I'm guilty of it too. Got a pencil in my hand. Let's just do what I see. And that's okay to a certain point. There's a point to do it and a point not to. And I guess the point not to is when you're trying for not photorealism, but a likeness. Let's say a likeness. I want it to be a likeness of him. I don't care if it's photorealistic or not. Now look at his eye. This is as far as I can expand it, but I did learn. Now I don't know if I can do it here without messing up my camera. I learned on this phone, if you hold on this and hold on this, whoops, turn my volume down, but that's okay. There. Now I made I shot another picture of just that. Now if I go to my gallery, let's go to my gallery, get out of here. And where did it go off to? Here. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to move that picture that I just took. I'm going to move it to my, what did I call it? Photo, public domain. There. Okay, we want to go back to the public domain. There. Now, see, I have that picture that I took, but I can expand that even more. And when you download a high resolution photo, you can do that and you can still get a very nice clear picture. And I like that because that helps me study. That helps me study as I draw. But what I was going to point out on his eye, look at that eye. Look at that eye. It's just got a little bit of white and it's even shaded. And it's got a little bit more white over here, but it's got some shading there. And of course, it's shaded in here, but it's kind of a reddish color. If this were black or white, like what I'm drawing, it would be shaded. And then right along here, along the ridge, it's got a definite shading in here so that you can tell that that's a dimensional part of his eyelid as it goes in. So I am just going to hopefully just kind of lightly shade underneath. Just lightly, Meri, and shade around in there, shade in here, but just a little bit of white. And I might even want to get my eraser and make it a little whiter. Now look at the eye itself. He's got blue eyes in this picture. They might look darker to you. Yeah, I think you see the blue. But here's a little twinkle in his eye. And it's dark around in here, but the dark is not a heavy defined line. It's very soft. So let's kind of make this in here, but very soft. And then it's darker in here. Darker, but it's got that twinkle in his eye, right on, kind of on the lower part of this, of his eyeball. Right in there, kind of right in there. And then, see, there's a lot of part of his eyeball on this side that I probably don't have, but I'm going to leave it. And I can already see that I have more space here than I do there. So I am going to redo his eyeball because I want to draw what I'm seeing. And I didn't do that. There's not as much white over here. So let's redo this. We want more white over here than what we have there. So I just kind of lightly put it in. And now I'm just sketching this darker part of his eyeball. And the twinkle kind of falls down to the lower part in this photo. So it's kind of falls in there. And I'm going to sketch it in with no tonal. It's a little bit darker, but it's I don't have all the 4B, 6B, all of that in there. So I'm just kind of sketching in his eyeball. Maybe I'll go back in. Now look at the eyelid. Look at the eyelid itself. See, there's a definite crease in there, and that's what this line is. But mine's really a lot straighter than what his. It kind of comes this way, and then it goes there, and it kind of comes down, and it falls into his nose area, and then it kind of elongates there. So there's how I talk through that, but he's still got this very prominent eyebrow that I'm not sure that I've exactly captured. Whoops. Where are you going, Alan? So he's got a very prominent eyebrow here. He's got a very prominent one, kind of darker right in there. And it's elongates over here, and then it starts coming down this way. Now that's just one eye, and he's got an eyeglass there. So let's get his eyeglass. His eyeglass, the sack of his eye, the under circle of his eye, this line right here actually falls underneath of the rim of his eyeglasses. Now let's go back to this one. You can kind of see it better here. So his eyeglasses fall off down this way, and I might have to even resketch this part to make it fit. Who knows? I may not get his entire face on here, but I'm studying it. I don't care if I don't get the entire face on here. I think I might, but I might not too. I'm studying. If I don't get the entire face on here, I'll quit. So I want the eyeglasses at sort of that comes down right in there, and it curves right in here, and it's dimensional, so there's more than one, and then it falls in to his nose area here, where that nose guard is, right in there. Sort of a nose guard coming up that way and coming this way and up and around. And it kind of comes this way a little, and then it falls down this way. Is that too large? That might be too much. Let's go back. Let's study this again here. That might be too much. Let's not make it too big. Like that. Round it off there. I'm fairly happy with that, but now I need to make the ear, what do you call these this stem of your eyeglass? I know there's a name for it, but it's on the tip of my tongue. All right, so I'm happy with that so far. I am happy with that. I've described a lot of what my eye was seeing, and I've tried to make my hand obey. Now, he's got some hair coming out here, just a little tough. Let's go back. Let's go back to the big picture. You can't see it too much in here. It's hidden in here, but this part of his hair, it's hidden in there. I was concentrating on his, well, oh no. Wait, let's go back. Let me look at that again. Oh, you can't see it because it's up in here. It's up in there. Okay, let's go back to this one, because I am talking about this little tuft of hair right here. It's right in here. It's a little tuft of hair kind of going back this way. And then he's got a very slender, you can barely see his earlobe, not his earlobe, but his ear. And that falls down below the eyeglass. So that earlobe starts, well, I guess I've got it it might have to come down just a little lower. It starts a little bit lower than this eyebrow. So it starts right about in here. And it's very slender. You can barely see his ear. And it falls down, and it goes clear down right about in here. Right about in there. See, right about a half an inch underneath of the. So we're just going to kind of put a mark there. Can you see him starting to appear there? Okay, I'm going to go back to the eyeglasses, and I'm just going to kind of darken the eyeglass rim here. And then I'm going to kind of darken it up here. Let's get rid of all of these lines. There's lines, but and kind of darken it there. And then this is got some shading in here, and this all is shaded in here. But on his cheekbone, See, he's got very pronounced cheekbones there that his eyeglasses is setting on. There's kind of like there's a shading right in here. So I kind of want to get that, I think. That shading. And of course, this is a colored photo. So he's got very red cheeks. You wonder why. He's got that silly grin. I just love that grin. Now his nose. Let's talk about his nose, because that's the hard thing for me. And I've got a good picture of his nose here. His nose, this nostril is resting on that, well, I should say the eyeglass is resting on the nostril of the nose. And if you look at the nostril of the nose, it comes even, it's right about in there with the eye, the placement of the eye. I like to think of relationships. Where does the nostril fall in relationship to the corner of the eye? And here's the corner of the eye, and here's my nostril. Here's the corner of the eye, and it's just a little bit over. It's kind of right in there. So in a sense, I'm mentally gridding this out. I'm thinking like if this were on a grid, like if I were doing a grid like so, and artists do grid their pictures out. You have all your grid, and then you grid this, and then you connect them. Well, I'm kind of doing that mentally by talking my way through it. But I'm still learning how to do this. And then his nose here is very oval, egg-shaped. It almost looks like almost a pear shape with a elongated bottom of the pear. So it comes here. It comes out this way, and there's shadow coming, and then it comes, here's the elongated portion of it. And I'm just talking myself through this because the nose is where I have a lot of studying to do on noses. And we think that that's short. I look at that and say, oh, that's short. But I forget part of his nose goes up here. His nose is still going up this way. So his nose is actually longer than what's in here. This is just the lower portion of his nose. And it kind of goes out that way. And now I am drawing with the tip of my pencil here. I'm not doing this. I'm actually drawing with the tip of my pencil just to point out to you that I am aware. And then the other portion of the eyeglass, I have it on this picture, rests on the other side of his nostril. So it comes, got to keep it in line. So it comes right about in here. And it's going up this way. But let's get his nostril in there. Let's get his nostril in there. And let's get a little bit of shading in here just to give it a little bit of dimension. And of course, this is all in shadow. And this is in shadow. And that grin. I love that grin. That grin starts right here. Here's his eyeglass right here. That grin starts right there. And this is, again, where I'm going to go to the soft part of my pencil. And I'm just going to kind of, I don't know if I can do it. I'm giggling. I hope he's grinning up in heaven. I think he passed away in the 90s. 90 something he passed away. He's just got the biggest smile on his face. Like, I've been to the moon and back. That's what I'm going to name this. That's what I'm going to call my photo. I don't know if he ever said that. But if I were him and if I were grinning like this, I would be saying, I've been to the moon and back. Where have you been? Oh, I went across town and came home. And that's why he's laughing. All right, let's give him that smile. That smile, that grin. Look, it's kind of a, well, let's just say like this. It kind of comes like that. It's a, and it's very shady, and I do want to use it kind of comes like this. only even more than a curve. Okay. I'm kind of happy with it so far, talking my way through it. Let's go back up to the nose. I work around. I work in one area and then I come back and I work in another area. So I'm not somebody who has to draw an eye and complete it and then go draw the other eye. I can draw the eye, I can go to the nose, I can go back up to the hair. That's something I do. Don't ask me why. It's intuitive, I guess. He's got a lot of shading under the nose where he's getting a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow under here, I think. So I'm just going to shade it around in here, which helps define his lips. His lips are very, when he's smiling, they're not curvature. They're just kind of a smooth line. He's got a smile. Because he's smiling, it's a wide open smile here. And let's see if I can get it. It gets thinner in there, and he's got some shadow in here. So he's got shadow in here. And he's got a bit of a white area in there, but not totally white. It's just lighter. And of course, it's darker underneath there. Now, I can hear Vicky saying to me, more shadow, Meri, and I will, but this is a number 2 pencil. I'm just getting the basic sketch in, and then I'll go back. Okay, let's go back and work on his lip. Here's his nose. His nose should fall kind of right where his gap of his 2 teeth are in the front teeth, but they are to just a little bit to this side of the tip of his nose. So let's put in let's just kind of lightly sketch in this white grin. I love his grin. I just love it. I don't think I can sketch it. It's such a grin. Now let's just kind of shade it. But his teeth right there does not fall center with his nose. It's just a little bit off center. So that's what we're going to do here. And very, very lightly. And, you know, I don't want to give him buck teeth. But he's got you can see his teeth. And they're uneven. His teeth are uneven. So let's just kind of lightly sketch them in. Lightly sketch them in here. I might have to go back in and work on those several times so that they don't look like pumpkin teeth. And somebody told me that if you sketch, when I was sketching teeth before, an open mouth, somebody left a comment on one of my sketches, one of my drawings, and said if you sketch the area around the teeth and not the teeth themselves, you'll have more luck. So I have been trying to do that. So now I'm kind of sketching. He's got a tongue. Can you see his tongue? I don't know if you can. This is as wide as I can get. He's got a bit of a tongue under there, which comes from this tooth here to, there's a tooth here, which is a little shorter. Let's finish sketching this tooth. Is a little wider. And I need to sketch the tongue. It comes, it kind of falls in there. And we got this tooth, and then he's got a larger tooth here again, and maybe his canine teeth here and here. So I'm just I'm trying to sketch the area around it, but in order to define the area around it, I have to sketch the teeth. So I'm still learning that part. I'm still learning that part. And then he's got kind of like another, he's got this tooth, a smaller tooth, and then his larger I think this is probably his canine tooth here. And then he's got a couple little teeth hidden in there. Then his tongue, his mouth is dark in here, and it kind of falls around this way. I can see his tongue, but his lip comes, bottom of his lip comes there and kind of goes up meets that canine tooth and then kind of falls in there. How is that looking to you? I always say they look like pumpkin teeth. But if I do go in and soften these lines a little, I'm happier with them. I think one thing with the pumpkin teeth is they're so prominent. Excuse me. Excuse me. That, you know, like when you're carving a pumpkin, if you soften your teeth a little, you know that there's teeth there, but you have not put hard lines in there for the tooth. So now let's do the bottom lip, because I'm saying that his tongue falls right in here. His tongue falls in there. And then he's got, let's look at this. Let's look at the corner of his mouth. It comes way in there. And of course, there's darker lines in here. I'm just kind of getting, the placement of the lips. Now, I don't have the lower lip in there yet, so he still looks kind of funny. That's why he's grinning. I love his grin. I just love his grin. So let's work at putting in that lower lip, which is very soft in here. It's a very soft lower lip. It's not, there's not a hard line. It's kind of a soft line. And it comes way up here and falls in here with that. And it kind of has this line of his lip falls in here. So this kind of comes a little elongated there. Very soft in here yet. Probably comes more like that. I don't want it too... I want it defined, but I don't want it hard defined. So I've gone back to using the flat of my lead. And I'm just going to kind of lightly shade it in. Kind of lightly shade it in. Now what really defines the lip is the chin underneath of it. So let's start giving him some chin. And lower lip under here. And this area in here can all start being darkened in here, because that's all darkened. And excuse me, I got a cold. If I could go back up here and work on his eyeglasses here, the eyeglasses fall in there, but he's got a line. He's got a very definite grin coming out from his eyeglass there that comes out this way. Love it. I just love him. He's very interesting character to sketch. And then this area is all dark. This area is all darkened in here. You know, he's just got kind of like a 5 o'clock shadow. And actually, I think it'll make more sense once I get this other side of his eyeglasses in. Let's go in here and see, he's got this line yet coming down. He's got this line. He's got that very prominent grin. It almost comes like this. Just like that. And then on this side, he's got his cheek kind of comes out like that. And he's got another cheek kind of coming like that. And there's some area there. I'm not sure that I'm getting it. I'm not sure that I'm getting that. Let's see, that lip might be a little... And this is very elongated. His face is elongated as he's smiling. He's got an open mouth. So it's kind of coming down like this. And his chin really comes down, way down into here. Maybe you can see that better if I draw some lines. Draw some lines like that. And there's dark in there. You can kind of see how his neck comes down into here. kind of got his head area coming like that. I'm not sure I even have that long enough. That's too dark in there. This is a challenge to draw. So his ear might need to come out just a little, or this cheek might need to, I'm messing this area up in there. Let's just leave it for a minute. What am I doing wrong here? I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I just don't think I have it defined quite yet. Let's kind of shade this in. Shade this in. So you can see he's got a neck area in here. What are you seeing? Are you seeing him? Are you seeing him pop on my screen? Shaded in here. Shaded in here. The glasses come out this way. Now I get one eye really good, and then I have to work on the other eye. So from here, let's measure just for the fun of it. The width of this eye comes from the point of my pencil to about to there. So from the point of my pencil to about to here. See, it looks pretty long. Let's get this paper. One of my puzzles here. Maybe I've got another paper. Let's get a little piece of white strip paper that I cut. Let's just do a little measuring. I don't generally do this, but when I'm studying it, okay, here's one eye, and I got that coming right about to there. Okay, so if I start the, see, I almost hit it. It's right to there. And then the other eye, but I want to measure this. Let's measure this over here. If I can, let's see, am I on it? Am I on the big? Yeah, I am. So from the end of his eye to the crease of his eye is right there. From the end, from here to, oh, stop moving it, Meri. I can't stop moving it because I touch it. To right about to there. Okay, so now let's put this right there, and that's true. It's, come on. It's true. If I put the point of my paper here and just barely touch it here, you can see that this point starts at the other eye over there. So let's turn this over, and I know that my other eye starts right about in here. It starts right about in here. Now, I typically would put this closer, and that's why, to me, optically, to me, that looks like an awful lot of space, you know? But when you measure it out from this point here to this point here is the same as from this point to this point to this point over here. And the same thing if I measure this one out, and I measured from the end to the end of the eye, and from the end of the eye to the across the nose to the end of the other eye, and from the end of the other eye to this side, it's all this width in here. So that's a very interesting point. I don't think that I really, when I look at this visually, I'm saying from here to here is an awfully wide space, but it's not that wide. It is the same as this. So I learned that from Annie V. I should have learned that in drawing class 10 years ago, and I probably missed that day. I probably missed that day. I can't blame anybody but me. Or maybe I just didn't hear it. So I'm going to put in, let's enlarge it here as much as I can. I'm going to put in his eye, not his eyebrow, but this upper portion, his eyelid. Because he's an older man, it kind of creases down and to the eye itself. And let's see, got to get the corner of it and kind of like that. And it goes up like this. Here again, he's got a whole lot less white in there than he does over here. So let's see if I can do that again. Yeah, I tend to darken it more than I should. It's because I'm sketching. So yeah, I think right about in there. And this, in this case, the white of his eye is right dab in the center. Right dab in the center. And I'm typically not one-to-one to put the white right in the center, but in this case it is. And then there's dark all around in here. Let's make this a little darker in here. So sort of like that. Can you see him taking shape? And then his eyelid kind of sags down this way. And then he's got that big bushy eyebrow coming up this way. So I'm into this area right in here. And that kind of fades into the background where it gets really dark in there. So, yeah. Now I need to work on his eyeglasses themselves. Comes out, well, let's see. Now let's work on this a little bit more. Let's go back and elongate his eye because he's got that same shadowing in here. Kind of like the roundness. And the same kind of, got a little dark in there. And of course there's dark in here. I'll go to a darker graphite, but I'm just kind of darkening it so you can see what I'm doing. And then of course there's the eye creases around the eyes. You can really see them. You can really see them in here. The creases where the eye is, the skin is losing its elasticity in here. And then it's kind of creasing. And then the eyeglasses themselves come out and curve here and come this way and down and curve up around this way. Ha! Look at that. Now, there's a lot of space in here, too, on this side of his face. Look at how much dark is in the side of his cheek here. See, he's got that wide smile. It just makes me giggle. It just makes me giggle to see it. He's got this wide smile here, but he's also, this point comes up this way. It comes up this way and up this way, and then you can see his ear there. So that ear, the bottom of that ear is falling below his eyeglasses. So, you know, it's really weird to see this, but if you look at it, that's the side of his face we're looking at here. So that's what I'm drawing in here is the side of his face. And I imagine his head kind of goes, I can't see his head because it's all in dark in here. This part kind of fades out into the dark. He's got the hairline here, and this all goes dark in there. Now he's got this neckline. I love this smile. I just love that smile. That all fades down into his neckline here. And usually I do that really fast rather than sit there and study all of the lines on a face. But it doesn't hurt for me to study this. It doesn't hurt for me to study this at all. So now to me, this looks like it's, I know it's proportional though. I know it's proportional. It almost looks, well, maybe what I'm missing is this part of the eyeglass going back this way. He's got an eyeglass that goes that way. And then this probably comes just a little bit more flat that way. And probably falls a little bit more like that. And his ear, this ear, yeah, it falls below the eyeglasses just a little, and it starts here, and it kind of comes up this way. Like that. And then this is all dark in here. And then this looks like it's a lot of white space, but by the time you get the shading in there, get the eyeglass in there, and you shade, and you get this wrinkle in there, you get shading in there, it starts to get skinnier. And same way here, he's got some shading coming off over in here, and shading coming off down in here. And this neckline here, I can see there's a lot of, right, here's the bottom of his ear coming right about in here. Let's erase this. Coming right about in here, approximately lower, right in there. And then he's got a side of his face is coming down this way as he tilts his head. And it comes like that. So then the neckline comes down this way. Let's concentrate on that. Look at the neck. Look at the crease in there. That's what this is right in here. And it kind of goes up around here. And that's what this line is. And that's what this line is that I'm drawing. And it kind of ends right in there. I love his smile. I just giggle. I giggle when I see his smile. I just giggle. He's probably giggling too. Meri, what are you doing? What are you doing to my face? Look at my teeth. What are you guys seeing? His nose is kind of shady in there. Kind of shading coming down this way. Kind of shading off in here. Kind of shady in there. Vicky says shade. Shade it, Meri, shade it. So I'm just starting to put in some of the shading. And big bushy eyebrows coming off over. Really falling all off in there and all off in here. Now, I'm not sure that I have this part of his head right. That looks like an awful lot of space in there. But that's all in, that's really is all in shadow. That's all in shadow up in here. And it's very dimensional. And it really falls in the shadow, all in there. And you just, you see a little of his, you see a little of his hairline coming off over this way. And then his shirt here falls just a little bit under. I'm right in here now. It falls just barely under his ear. Just give him a little. And he's got a white shirt on. And I'm not going to try to draw every wrinkle in that shirt. That's not what I'm about here. I'm concentrating on the face, and I need to get in there and concentrate more on the lips and the tongue. See, you can spend hours and hours doing this. Hours and hours. I'm going to soften this area a little and shade it rather than hard lines. See, in his neck, he's got a pretty wide neck area. Here's the end of his ear right here. It kind of comes up and goes around there. Well, he's got his face, it's grinning, so he's got a full face, but he's also got this area in here, which is fairly wide. Not real wide, but fairly wide. It comes about like that. And it comes down to his shirt like that. And of course, his entire neck is darker. So let's just kind of darken all this in. Let's draw his shirt in here. And like I said, I'm not going to draw the entire wrinkles on his shirt. That would be too detailed, more detailed than I want to go, but I want to kind of put it in there. He's got a tie. He's got his tie on. And that comes in here. I'm just kind of blocking it out, talking as I go. How long have I been going? I've been going just a little over an hour. Not bad for an hour's work. Not bad for an hour's work. How am I holding it here? Not bad for an hour's work. His mouth still needs a little work, but we'll get there. His eyes are probably a little darker in here, but I'll get there. I'll get there. You know, his nose area and probably some darkening and shading around his eyes. A little more detail in his ear up here, a little hair coming around there. A little more detail. Doesn't have to be perfect. And it's not. Shading in around his open mouth there. Right in here. And then it's a little bit lighter with the lip. I'm working in here. And it's really fairly light because it almost, the skin itself almost falls into the lip, if you know what I mean. It just kind of flows into it, curves into it. You can see it, you distinguish it not by the shape so much as by the color. So my lead down here wants to define the shape of his lip, but down up in here, I want the lead to define the color. So if I were coloring his lip, I'd make that a very much like a fleshy, dark fleshy pink. But here I want some curvature of his lip, if that makes any sense to anyone. And let's see, we've got to work on the chin too. It's very dark underneath of his chin. Very dark under here. But let's go back to defining this shirt. Comes way up to here. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to start getting out another pencil. So you can see the collar, very crisp white collar on this side. Kind of comes up this way and falls that way. And then his shirt kind of falls behind it like that. And all of this is dark. So I'm going to get out I'm going to get out my water soluble. This is 12B, 10B, 8B. I'm going to get out the 8B. 8B is pretty dark. But the reason I'm getting it out is that I want to shade in this entire area in here. And I'm going to use water. I'm going to use some water, and this is not watercolor paper. This is cardstock. So as I use water, expect my paper to treat it like a cardstock would. It'll curl a little. I might have to get out the heat gun. Let's see, I don't want to lose the definition of that ear. And I want to define it in here. I'm just kind of shading it in. Shading it in. Now, I suppose that a professional artist would approach this whole thing the same way, a different way. The same way? Yeah, I mean, they would be telling you, this really is not, I keep saying, I do not mean these as tutorials. All I am doing here is telling you how I approach it. And instead of using that little brush that came there, I'm going to use this brush. And I did put a little water in here. in a little clean spice jar. And I think I want to get out of, what did I do with my paper towels? Let me reach for my paper towels. They fell behind my cart. Here, let me reach for them. Yeah. Because I know I'll need it. And let's just lightly start shading in this entire area back here is very dark. And in fact, his ear is dark. But I'm almost painting with the graphite at this point. I just want this entire area to see how smooth that is. Now, I could not do that if I was drawing a line. So I am. I'm almost painting, and that dark area falls into his head here, and I can kind of move some of that and shade it in. I might have to put some more on it, but I think that I can move it in. See how it's all dark in there. Now I have a 2B pencil. This is all 2B, and that's not as water soluble as my 8B that I put on here. That was a regular lead pencil that I did all this other sketching in. So I'm not expecting that to be very water soluble. But all I'm doing now is very cautiously putting in the background. And I'm laughing at the very cautiously part. I kind of want to see what I'm doing in here. This actually just kind of falls into the darkness of his head there. All right, I do think that I'll get out my heat gun. Heat gun alert, because I want this fairly dry as I work on it. And it's curling a little, it's working a little. But you have to expect that with a cardstock and a paper. You know, this is not watercolor paper or mixed media paper. This is cardstock, and in fact, I'm seeing it react in there, which is okay. Now I'm going to go in, and he doesn't have dark. If you look at, let's go back to that other picture. Well, I was at that picture. If you look at this picture here, you can see there's light. His head is all, whatever's behind him there is very light colored, and then it falls dark again in there. But I'm going, well, I could kind of put in a light and put in a dark area all in here. So let's use that same HB. And I'm just kind of, scribbling it in. I suppose you could be very careful. I was thinking here, I'm not sure why that separated. I must have something on my paper. See if it does the same thing in here. These are Prima, water soluble. I've had these for quite a while. I don't use them much because I don't sketch much with lead. I sketch a lot with ink pen. But when I'm doing this year, 29 faces, I just have the urge to sketch with graphite. So I am. So I am. Now this is all lighter. Let's see what happens if I go to let's see. Let's go to, that's a 4B. I think this is a 2B. Let's go to the 2B in here, and it is lighter. Well, let's just kind of do this a little bit lighter behind him in here where this light area is, and make his hair darker. because that means his hair will stand out. If I made this area, where it's lighter, as dark as this area, and then did the dark of his head up in here, his hair in here would not stand out. It would be on the same tonal plane. So I'm going a little bit lighter up in here around his head, the top portion of his head there. Just a little bit lighter in here. And I'm not really pressing down. And that's with a 2B graphite stick. These are pretty wide. These are fun to work with. And this is an 8B. Now I got a 10B and a 12B. I could probably even go to the 12B. Let's see what the 12B does. I have to get it out here. This is the 12B. It's pretty dark. Of course, I'm doing it over the 8B, but it's pretty dark. And I suppose once I get more on here, it'll be even darker. Now, let's see. I don't want it. I kind of want that just to kind of fall right above his ear, and then the light starts. So right about in there. Now let's see what happens if I put some water on it here. Just kind of be. This is where you kind of paint. I say you paint with the graphite. If you like to paint, this is a good way to paint and study the tonal values. And I do like to paint a lot. And here again, I'm going with mixed media. I'm going with it. Well, mixed media meaning I'm not really mixing media. Mixed media meaning that when I do my art, I tend not to say, okay, I'm going to make a realistic drawing here. It tends to be, sketchy. So this is all dark in here. This is all dark. And it even falls into his head in here. I'm going to leave that at the HB and come in here and make this area dark in there if I can. I might have to come back in there again with the 12B, but we'll come back to that. So look what I've done. Now let's go in here. I've got a 12B, which is real dark. I've got the 2B, which was light. Let's come back in, and he's got a dark hair. So I'm going to come back in here and attempt to put in his hair in here, which will help define his head. And I'm just kind of marking it in with my pencil here, thinking that I'm getting the flat part there. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But I got to be careful. Let's go back to that other. Let's go back to this one. No, that's just the face. We're going to have to go back to him. So I'm doing this part in here. I don't want to mess it up. And now you can see the lines, but once I put that water on it, it softens it. So I'm thinking that that's what's going to happen here. I'm thinking. But I also want to define, he's got some kind of little hairs coming out there, but I'll come back in and do those more in detail. I'm just getting the color in there now. Where I think his head would go. And it really falls into the background over here. it falls into the background over here. Might come up a little more there. Sometimes it helps for me to look over at the computer screen and see too, because I might need to bring this a little bit more this way. Yeah, yeah. He might fall just a little bit more. This part is, his face is really in shadow, but I don't want to use the 4B on it. I want to use that 2B. Let's see what happens if I put some water on it. Now, so far, I've just done very wide areas in here. I haven't done a lot of detail with my tonal values. I'm just getting I'm getting these dark areas defined. I think it kind of comes out that way. And you can see it falling down here over his ear. And kind of smooshes that way. And kind of comes down into here. Yeah. Getting a lot of water on my brush here. I'm not sure that's a good thing. I'm just wanting to get dark hair on him, which I think I'm achieving. Yeah. I think I'm liking that. This kind of gets all grayed in here. But I'm going to kind of blot this because this area is much lighter. Let's hit it with water again. This is where you have to be careful where you're putting a lot of water on cardstock. You don't want to rub. Blotting is okay, but you don't want to rub it because you'll pile it and pit it and tear a hole in it. I think I'm happy with that. Maybe a little bit more work in there, a little bit more work up in there, because he's got a lot of shading coming off in here. This whole side of his face is shaded. And in here is shaded. So I'm going to, let's dry this. I'm talking it out. I am talking it out. Now, there's a Facebook group, and when I do a 29 faces, I should reference the Facebook group, and Ayala Art is really the person who does 29 faces, Facebook group, and they're, oh my goodness, the talent. I don't even pretend to have some of the talent that I see going on in that group. I don't even pretend that I'm there. I'm at the same level. But that should not stop anybody from doing their best, from doing what they see, from trying, from sketching. And let's see. I'm going to take this. This is kind of something I learned from Cat Hand, but she does it off the edge of the table. But if I hold this ruler and just pull this paper, it kind of works out those wrinkles. I learned that from Cat Hand. She did that off of the edge of the table. You see, it just kind of helps flatten that out again once your paper warps. It's a little warpy in there yet, but okay. So let's put that ruler back over where I can find it again. Let's go to my pencils. This was the 2B lead pencil. This is a regular lead pencil I was drawing with. let's go to, that's an HB, is a very hard lead. I want to go to, this is a 2B, which is probably about the same as my lead. It might be a little softer graphite. Let's go to the 4B and start putting in some of this, you know, maybe his eyebrows in here. Maybe his defining around the eye, the darkness of the eye. Get his twinkle in there. Twinkle of the eye. Some of the darkness in here. Now, if I use the 2B, I really want to use that maybe up around in here and coming on the side of his face. Let's bring this down. I've got too much of his ears showing in here. So maybe I'll put some more hair in here because it does need more. And this is kind of the side of his face. And his eyebrow comes way down into here. And he's got shadow in here. Now I should be using the flat part of this to do this shading. I'm saying to myself, because I'm kind of defining the roundness of his forehead in here, and I'm just kind of shading it. And I want to shade underneath of the eye. But I'm going to use that pencil again to make the hard lines of the eyeglasses. This is my lead pencil. And I want that to define the eyeglasses. I want them very defined so that you know that they're there. And let's go back in. And now I'm playing with getting some of the details in the face. And, you know, and I don't have to put every little wrinkle in. I'm not saying you got to do that to get a likeness. I'm playing. That's what I'm saying. I'm playing. So it comes this way, and his eye kind of comes that way. And I want to get the shading in his eye here. And I hope I don't mess that up. And it's got shading going on in here. And his eyebrow kind of comes up this way. It gets really bulky again over here on the side. Over in here. Bushy. And it's probably really bushy in here. There. And then this, again, is with this shading in his face, all around in here, all around in there. If I can just kind of shade this in and maybe even shade in the ear a little more. Probably need a lot more work on these ears than I have. This dark line in here, and this is all shady. Let's see what I'm doing here. You know, I don't want it to be totally photorealistic. So let's work with this eye a little bit more. This is my 4B. I might, at a certain point, just stop. Because I'm getting a lot of tonal values. I might work on his mouth and his nose a little bit more. But I'm not trying to achieve a photograph here. That's not the point. The point of what I'm trying to do with this is just to study it. Just to study it. That's the point for me. I'm studying the eyes. I'm studying the eyebrows. I'm studying the the lines on his face. I'm studying the values of the colors. So I'm not really trying to achieve a photograph. Hopefully that'll happen as I go, but that's not my objective. Well, I don't know if I want that to happen as I go or not. It's kind of a round nose and it falls that way. There's a lot of shading underneath here. And there's a very definite smile line here. I love it. I just love it. And then there's a lot of shadow coming underneath of his chin here. No. A lot of shadow in here. That chin might be a little big there. I might need that white line coming closer there. And this is all in shadow in here. Now I'm just talking away. I'm just chattering away. And I'd like to get the, let's go back to this lead pencil. This is almost too soft to do those eyeglasses. Where's that lead pencil? Yeah, this one. This is a little bit more hard lead, so it can define these eyeglasses a little bit better. The soft lead kind of wants to blend in, so to speak. So I'm just kind of drawing the rim of the eyeglasses here. I defined them first. Now I'm just going in and kind of detailing them. And I probably have them darker. They're really kind of a clear eyeglass. But in order for this to show up, I'm kind of making them darker in here. They get darker over here. They come down like that. Yeah, I'm getting happy with this. I'm not happy with the mouth yet. I giggle at the mouth. I giggle. Yeah. It kind of comes in like this. And shade around the teeth. He's got a small tooth and then a large tooth. And then he's got some small ones going off in there. And then he's got sort of a tooth in there and a large tooth that I'm calling his molar. And he's got some little teeth coming back in here. Yeah, and then this is all dark around it. Now let's make this a little darker in there. Now let's play with the chin. Comes down this way. Now I want to get out my, that's the 4B. That'll do. Let's just darken this area in here. Yep. I don't quite have that smile down because he's got a very definite grin here. Very definite grin. It comes down this cheek. Yeah, let's put this in shade in here. This cheek, very definite grin in here. That kind of right there, and then falls down like that, kind of falls down into his chin. And his chin has some shading up this way and around in this way. And it, you know, you kind of have to define it, but not define it harsh. Now I'm using my eraser to kind of soften those tones. Let's go back. Let's go back and work on this area a little more. Let's see. I am using, let's go back to the 4B. Let's define some dark area in there. And I'm just going to let this entire ear fall into the background. And this ear is not defined very well, I have to tell you. It's very dark in here. In this area of his face. It's very dark. This area in here. It falls into a lot of shading. And it's really even shaded in there. Shaded underneath of his nose area. But I don't want to get it too... I don't want to get it too dark. Let's put in his tie. Let's just make some flat areas, maybe define some shapes here for his tie. And it comes down like this, like that maybe. And just put in some shapes, some lines. Like that. And then the collar, you can kind of see the collar go like that and fall crisp up there. And then there's a part of his shirt that comes there. And then there's a part of his collar that falls very crisp there. And you could just go for hours and hours getting the tonal values, because this part of his collar is really in shadow. You know, this part of his, it's white, but it's in shadow. And then you got his neck. I'm going to go back. I think I'm getting to the point where I'm being very happy with it. Where I'm saying if I go further, I'm trying to achieve photorealism. And that really is not what I'm trying to achieve. I think I'm getting to the point to where I feel like I've studied this. Maybe not quite, but let's get out my little brush and let's see what I can do in here. Let's just kind of lightly, and I might even want to blot it as I go. You know, I just want to, I don't want to destroy that wonderful smile that he has. But I want some of that shading to define his neck area. And his chin area. And maybe even portions of this and up in here. So this is where I get painterly again. This is where I feel like I'm painting again. Painting with the graphite. Of course, I could do a whole lot more work in the eye area in here. But really, like I'm saying, my objective here is not to do photorealism. My objective here is to... My objective on these sketches, for me personally, is to study it. not to achieve a photorealistic where it looks almost like he's took a photo of it. I'd rather have it still look like a sketch. The mouth area definitely needs more work. Kind of soften these lines in here a little around the teeth, maybe. The lips. I might have to go back in on that lower lip. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. Let's go back over here. He's got some dark area in there that I don't think I have. And it's got some smile lines and some color going on up in here that I don't think I have. But I don't know how much further I want to go with this. Let's just kind of soften his shirt line a little. Now, I don't know how much of this is going to fade off. I don't know how much of this is going to fade off onto my page when I put it into the journal. How much of this will fade off onto the other page? Because I'm not putting any fixative on this. I'm not entirely happy with his teeth. I'm going to leave him alone. I'm going to leave him alone at this point. I'm going to call him done. I've worked an hour and 41 minutes to this point. That's not bad for an hour and 41 minutes. I mean, you could spend hours and hours and hours getting detail. Hours, I mean. Afternoons and days. And practice him over and over and over again. That's really not what I'm after. This is February 5th, 2019. What my real goal is, well, it's relating it to that history that little history point that I put into my journal. But my real goal on this is to improve my drawing skills, to improve my observation skills. Like, here are my glasses that I have. Where's my Ticonderoga one? I like that one. The glasses that I have underneath of his, sitting on his cheek. The glasses, sure enough, are sitting on his cheek. You know, see, I could do more with the wrinkles on his face. Get that wonderful smile in there. I love it. I love him. Maybe do a little bit more with the eyes and the eyebrows. I can spend hours studying this lip a little bit more, but my goal is the noses. I'm studying noses. And I wouldn't say I spent a good amount of time on his nose, but I'm not unhappy with it. It may need a little more shading up around here, but maybe not that much either, not that defined of a line. Maybe a little more definition up in there, a little more shading up in here as it comes up and around the eye there, a little more shading in there. And the mouth, the open mouth, I'm working on that. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm a lot better than I was. So, and I really do like working with these graphite sticks. I don't know why I don't work with them more. Here's my 4B. Here's the 2B. You might see me just working with them more with my 29 faces. So here he is. I'm going to staple him in my journal. Let's put these away. I'm going to have to find a place for my other pencils. I keep losing them because I don't have them in a holder yet. And yeah, I know. Holders are, what have I got here? This tab. I don't use these this much. I need to get them out and use them. I've had these. I got these when I lived in Wisconsin. I brought them home with me. So these aren't anything these are not a recent purchase. All right. So there's my graphite sticks. Here's my number 2. I'm going to wash out my brush. I'll dump this little water in my dirty water pot, paint pot. Here's my little water tool. Here's my Sudoku puzzle. Let's just dry these paint brushes off. I don't let them sit in my water. This brush I haven't used. I'm going to put my pencils over. Well, let's wash this brush out. This is the one that I was using to kind of like that. It's just a craft brush, but I do kind of like it. I'll put it up there. Gather my pencils. I'm going to have to get me a fatter. I want to paint a tea box to keep these pencils in. It's my sorting out pens and pencils and paint brushes. What I did there. I'll wash that brush out a little. It's got blue on it. Let it dry. Talking to myself. These are my drawing pencils. I need to put a rubber band around them. All right. So let's turn this off. Let's keep him out. I'm going to put him in my journal. Here's my journal. I'm going to put him right over this piece of writing right there. These are the ATC that I did this morning. So, and I've got, the reason I'm doing these is that I want to cover up my journaling. So let's reach over and get the stapler. I'll probably have to fill it with staples here pretty soon. And what do I have on the back of this? Calendar. I'll be okay. I'll staple it right here at the corner. Yes. Just staple it in the middle. Yes. Now I would imagine that if you're watching this, that you would slide your slider bar in, unless you're really interested in hearing me just ramble on about my drawing. There we go. There he is. There he is in his study, in the study state that I did today. Let's push him up a little, Meri. Not too bad. I'm not unhappy with him. Maybe this, which ear? This one? No, this ear. This ear could be a little better. I can see where I could improve things on it. Just in there, just by doing that, I think improves it. So I'm not totally unhappy with this ear because I know it comes down, maybe just shade it in a little bit more. Maybe that's all those ears need. It's a little bit of shading in there. Because I look at it in the computer and I see it in a different light. Maybe I'm a little more work on his chin in there. But the more you do, the more fun you have. Don't give up. If you're doing your faces, sit and chatter while you're doing it. Talk about the eyes and how they relate to the eyeglasses and when this eye relates to the ear. And, you know, the darker the hair, I wanted dark hair there, so I had to make it a little lighter in there. I could even put more dark in there, but I'm not going to. This hair is almost as dark as this. But it will probably, as I work on my journal and flip it this way, and it will probably a lot of that graphite will probably rub off because I'm not putting a fixative on it. I may get some of that non-smelly stuff. So I finished another puzzle today, so I'm going to put that in there. I'm just going to, and these are still the 1-star ones, the very easy ones I get done. When they start getting 2 and 3 stars, I start having a little bit more trouble with them. And the 5-star ones I ignore, but I might attempt some just for you. So there we are. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It's almost been 2 hours. That's not bad for a 2-hour drawing, is it? I don't think so, for what I learned. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next page.